I canceled my own wedding hours before it began, not because I stopped loving my fiancée, but because my sister crossed a line she thought I would never defend. Welcome to Trust and Treason Files, where we expose the raw truth behind the masks people wear. My name is Ethan Walker. I am 38 years old. I never imagined my life would turn into a case file, but family has a way of teaching lessons you do not ask for. I grew up believing loyalty was automatic. You were born into it. You protected it. You endured it. That belief came from my parents, who preached unity while quietly practicing favoritism. My sister, Olivia, was the golden child. She did not earn praise. She received it by default. I learned early that my role was different. I was the dependable one, the one who fixed problems quietly, the one who was told to be patient. When I got engaged to my fiancée, Claire, it felt like a fresh start, a life that was finally mine. We planned a simple wedding, nothing extravagant, just close family, close friends, and a promise we had waited years to make. Claire's dress was custom-made. It took months. It was not flashy. It was elegant. It meant something to her. It meant something to me because I had never seen her more confident than the day she tried it on. That confidence bothered my sister. Olivia had always treated my milestones like inconveniences. When I bought my first house, she joked about how small it was. When I got promoted, she asked how long it would last. When I announced the wedding date, she sighed and said it was bad timing for her schedule. The warning signs were there. I ignored them because ignoring conflict had become second nature. In the weeks leading up to the wedding, my mother insisted Olivia be involved in everything. Dress fittings, dinner calls, seating plans. I felt uneasy, but I told myself family meant compromise. Claire tried to be gracious. She always was. 3 days before the wedding, Olivia asked to borrow the dress. She said she wanted to show it to a seamstress friend. She said it was just to double-check the fit. She said she would be careful. My mother backed her up. She always did. Against my better judgment, I agreed. That night, Claire barely slept. The next day, Olivia stopped answering calls. By the evening, we drove to my parents' house. The dress was not there. Olivia arrived late, acting casual, holding a garment bag that looked wrong the moment I saw it. She smiled like nothing mattered. Inside the bag was the dress, or what was left of it. The seams had been altered. The neckline changed. The length shortened. It was no longer Claire's dress. It looked like a costume tailored for someone else, for someone who wanted attention. Olivia shrugged and said she made improvements. She said the original was boring. She said Claire should be grateful. My mother stayed silent. Claire excused herself to the bathroom and cried quietly. I stood there, feeling something shift inside me. This was not a mistake. This was not carelessness. This was control. This was entitlement. That night, I did not yell. I did not argue. I did not threaten. I did something Olivia never expected. I stopped playing my role. I went home and looked at the contracts, the venue, the catering, the vendors. I read every clause carefully. I realized something important. The deposits were under my name. The final payments were due the next morning. By sunrise, I had made a decision. I called the venue and canceled. I sent messages to the vendors. I postponed everything. I told Claire the truth, not just about the dress, but about my family, about the pattern, about the years of quiet tolerance that had brought us here. She did not get angry. She looked relieved. The phone started ringing immediately. My sister, my mother, extended family. Accusations flew. I was selfish. I was dramatic. I was ruining everything. No one asked about the dress. No one asked about Claire. That told me everything I needed to know. I did not cancel the wedding to punish anyone. I canceled it to protect something sacred. Respect. Boundaries. The future I refused to let be contaminated by old betrayals. This was only the beginning. The real consequences were still ahead. And my sister was about to learn that entitlement has a cost. After I canceled the venue, the noise did not stop. It multiplied. Calls, messages, voicemails that started polite and ended cruel. I did not answer any of them. Silence was the only thing I had left that belonged to me. I went back to work the following Monday like nothing had happened. That was my instinct. Keep moving. Stay productive. Do not let personal chaos bleed into professional life. On the surface, I looked fine. Inside, I was carrying the weight of years I had never questioned before. My sister did not apologize. She reframed the story. According to her, I had overreacted. According to her, Claire was too sensitive. According to her, the dress was just fabric. What mattered was family unity. That word again. Unity. It was always used when I was expected to swallow my feelings. My mother supported that version without saying it out loud. She would send messages like, "You know how your sister is," or "Let us not make this bigger than it needs to be." The burden of peace was placed exactly where it always had been. On me. Claire watched all of this quietly. At night, we talked. Slowly. Honestly. Conversations we should have had years earlier. I admitted things I had never said out loud. How my sister had always been prioritized. How I was praised for being low maintenance. How being easy to manage had become my identity. Claire did not interrupt. She listened. And when I finished, she asked one question that stayed with me. When was the first time they taught you that your boundaries did not matter? I did not have an answer right away. The days turned into weeks. We postponed the wedding without setting a new date. That alone caused outrage. Family members accused us of holding grudges, of being immature, of embarrassing everyone. I noticed something strange. No one asked how Claire was doing. They asked when things would go back to normal. Normal meant convenient for them. The manipulation became subtle. Invitations stopped coming. Group chats went quiet. I heard through cousins that my sister was telling people I had always been jealous of her, that I was unstable, that Claire was controlling me. I felt isolated, even while surrounded by people. At work, I stayed late. Not because I had to, but because it gave me an excuse to delay going home and thinking. When I finally did sit with my thoughts, they were uncomfortable. I replayed childhood memories. Birthdays where my gifts were practical and hers were extravagant. Achievements of mine that were acknowledged with a nod. Mistakes of hers that were excused with laughter. I realized something painful. This was not about the dress. It never had been. The dress was just the moment I stopped absorbing damage quietly. One evening, my sister showed up at my door unannounced. She acted like nothing had changed. She sat on my couch and started talking about her life, her stress, her plans. While I did not engage, she noticed. She sighed and said, "Are you really still upset about that?" I told her yes. Her expression hardened. She said I was choosing a woman over my family. She said I was breaking my mother's heart. She said I owed her an apology for canceling something that was not just mine. That sentence stuck with me. Not just mine. That was the problem. Nothing in my life had ever been fully mine. I told her calmly that what she did was wrong, that she altered something that did not belong to her, that she dismissed Claire's feelings completely. I told her I needed distance until she could acknowledge that. She laughed, not nervously, not awkwardly. She laughed like someone who had never faced consequences. She told me I would come around, that I always did. When she left, I sat in the dark for a long time. That was the night something shifted permanently. I stopped responding to family messages entirely. I blocked my sister. I limited contact with my parents. I focused on my work, on my relationship, on rebuilding a sense of self that did not rely on approval. It was not dramatic. There were no speeches, no confrontations, just quiet endurance, the kind that forces you to sit with the truth instead of running from it. But in that silence, something else began to form. Clarity, because when the noise faded, patterns became impossible to ignore. And once you see a pattern clearly, you start noticing the evidence you missed before. I did not know it yet, but the truth was already waiting for me to find it. Clarity has a strange way of sharpening your memory. Once I stepped back from the constant noise, details I had ignored for years started lining up. Moments that felt small at the time suddenly formed a pattern I could not unsee. It started with a call from my aunt. She hesitated before speaking, like she was choosing each word carefully. She told me she was proud of me for standing up for myself. That alone felt unusual. Then she said something that stopped me cold. "You know, this is not the first time your sister has done something like this," she said. I asked her what she meant. She reminded me of my college graduation, how a cash gift from my grandparents had gone missing. I had assumed it was misplaced. She reminded me of a business opportunity years ago that fell apart after private information was leaked. I had blamed bad timing. She reminded me of arguments I could never quite explain. She said quietly, "Your mother always covered for her." When the call ended, I sat there, staring at nothing. My mind raced through memories, rearranging them with new context. It felt like rereading my own life with the truth finally highlighted. That night, I opened old emails, bank statements, messages saved in cloud backups I had forgotten about. I was not searching for revenge. I was searching for understanding. What I found made my chest tighten. There were financial transfers I did not recognize. Small amounts over time. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to avoid suspicion. There were email threads where my sister had spoken on my behalf without my knowledge. Decisions made for me. Opportunities redirected. Favors taken in my name. And always in the background, my mother smoothing things over. I felt sick, but not surprised. The dress was not an isolated act of entitlement. It was consistent behavior. Take. Ita. Reframe. Then wait for forgiveness. Once I saw it, I knew I could not unsee it. I did not confront anyone right away. I needed to be precise. Emotional reactions would only feed the narrative that I was unstable. I gathered everything. Screenshots, dates, records, a timeline of moments where my life had been quietly redirected. When I finally reached out to my parents, I asked for a meeting. Neutral ground, public place, no raised voices, no dramatics. They arrived together. My sister did not come. I laid everything out calmly. I showed them the evidence. I asked simple questions. Why were decisions made without me? Why was my money moved? Why was my partner disrespected? Why was this always minimized? My father looked confused. Genuinely. My mother did not. She said she was protecting the family. She said my sister needed more help than I did. She said I was strong and would be fine. That sentence hurt more than anything else, because it confirmed what I had always felt but never named. My resilience had been used against me. I told them I was not asking for apologies. I was setting boundaries. Financial separation, limited contact, no involvement in my personal decisions, respect for my relationship, or complete distance. My mother accused me of tearing the family apart. I told her the damage had been done long before the wedding dress. I did not raise my voice. I did not insult anyone. I simply refused to negotiate my dignity. When I left that meeting, I felt lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because the truth was out. Heavier because acceptance came with loss. Later that night, my sister sent me a message from a new number. She denied everything. She accused me of betrayal. She said I would regret choosing distance over blood. I did not reply. For the first time, I did not feel the urge to defend myself, because the truth did not need my permission to exist. And now that it was exposed, the final chapter was inevitable. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. No dramatic apologies. No sudden accountability. Just distance settling into place like a new climate I had to learn how to live in. I followed through on every boundary I set. I separated my finances completely, changed access, updated beneficiaries. I made sure nothing I built could be redirected without my knowledge again. It was not about punishment. It was about protection. My parents struggled with the changes. My mother tried to maintain contact as if nothing had shifted. Casual messages, holiday reminders. I responded politely but briefly. I did not explain myself again. I had already said everything that mattered. My sister faded out of my life in stages. First anger, then silence, then the absence of her name altogether. I heard through relatives that she was telling people I had abandoned the family. I let her. I was done correcting stories that were never told in good faith. Claire and I took time to heal. Real time, not a rushed ceremony meant to satisfy expectations. We focused on rebuilding trust, not just between us, but within ourselves. She redesigned her dress, not to erase what happened, but to reclaim it. Watching her choose every detail on her own terms felt symbolic. For both of us. Months later, we married quietly. No grand venue, no audience, just people who respected us. The ceremony was small, intentional, and honest. For the first time in my life, a major milestone felt peaceful instead of performative. Justice did not arrive as punishment. It arrived as consequence. My sister lost access, influence, control. The power she had relied on vanished the moment I stopped participating. My mother was forced to sit with the reality that favoritism has a cost. My father, to his credit, began reaching out on his own, trying to understand instead of defend. As for me, I learned something important. Endurance is not the same as strength. Silence is not the same as peace. And family loyalty should never require self-erasure. I no longer measure my worth by how much I can tolerate. I measure it by how clearly I can protect what matters. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, pay attention to that feeling. Patterns repeat until they are confronted. Boundaries feel cruel only to those who benefit from you having none. Thank you for opening this case file with me. If you believe in justice, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. New files open daily.